All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 9th, 2021 regular meeting of the South Pasadena Library Board of Trustees. And we're still continuing in a hybrid virtual in-person meeting. We have our masks on and spaced out, and the public can participate via Zoom. There's information on that. And are there any?
We can do a roll call.
Can we do a roll call and then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sean, roll call, please.
Bianca Richards,
Present.
David Ewens.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have Sally Kilby.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
From the Friends of the Library.
Yes, Sally Kilby is with us, and Kathy Billings, Director of the Library, and then Sean Fay, Administrative Secretary, is with us. All right.
Expecting our two.
Okay, we just got Dean.
Okay.
Okay. And Dean Serwin is joining us
Via Zoom or?
via Zoom, probably.
Hi, Dean.
Okay, let's get him in and we'll go forward.
Hi, Dean, and
Hello.
a conflict, so she isn't able to meet with us tonight because there's another
Very quiet there.
the same time. Okay, so why don't we, and we're gonna skip around the agenda a little bit.
No, we don't have to.
Oh, we don't have to. We have
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Sorry. Okay, all right. So are there any presentations?
No. No.
And are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, so we'll move on to our action discussion. And were you all able to review the minutes from our last meeting of November 18th? Are there any additions, comments, edits? And again, Sean, thank you so much for the wonderful minutes. We do appreciate it. So hearing none, then I thank you, David, and I can second it. So it's been moved and second that we approve the minutes of November 18th, 2021.
Shall I take roll call?
Yeah, roll call, sorry.
Sure. Bianca Richards,
Yes.
David Ewens,
Yes.
Dean Serwin.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and then moving on, the approval of the Library Board of Trustees, our annual report. Again, I did up a kind of a very rough draft of it, and I got some input. Thank you all. That's item number 4, right in the back of the packet. Oh yeah, Dean, do you have it there?
I do have what?
The draft of the Library Board of Trustees annual report.
The one that you previously sent me?
No.
No,
In the
it should be in the packet.
Ah, yes, I see it. Item 4.
Yeah. Item 4.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, I intended to be there. I got my vaccine booster yesterday and it pretty much, actually on Tuesday, and it's wiped me out.
No, I hear you.
Days away.
Yeah, no. Yeah, my booster actually affected me more than the actual vaccine.
Yeah, the second shot was nothing compared to the booster.
I had the same experience and I talked with someone about it and they said that is a good thing.
Oh. Knock on wood, knock on glass.
Yeah.
Now, what did we find out about the annual reports? Is the new city manager, so how much more do we have to do on it? Are we holding on?
Nothing. You guys, if this is okay, you'll approve it and we'll submit it when they're ready to have us submit it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the way you formatted it up. It's much cleaner and it summarizes well.
Well, and that's thanks to Kathy and Sean, or the other staff in the library. So thank you all. So do we want a minute to go over it, Dean and
No,
David, are we okay with
I've
it?
read it. No,
Okay.
I don't have any-
All right.
I read it before.
so do we have roll call on that then to approve of it?
I think we need a motion
Wait.
and a
Oh, I'm
second.
sorry. Okay, do I have a motion to approve? of the-
Yes, motion.
All right, thank you, Dean. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you, David. So it's been moved and second to approve of the Library Board of Trustees, the annual report for 2021. Roll-
Okay. Bianca Richards,
Yes.
Dean Serwin,
Yes.
David Ewens.
yes,
Thank you.
And then just moving on, you'll see the new, the dates, and it's the same. We still meet the same
Yeah.
Thursdays, yeah.
And Sean, none of these were holidays, no issues when you put together the list?
No issues, no holidays.
Thank you. So pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and then obviously when the new trustees come on, we give them all a packet.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the meeting. Gosh, time is moving on, isn't it? It's already 20, it's gonna be 2022. Wow. Any,
I don't think you need to act on those. I
I
mean,
don't-
it's
yeah.
required by the state that we
So-
meet monthly, so I don't think you need to approve the,
yeah, I mean, it's just a
Approve them.
set, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, and then moving on to the request for proposals for the strategic planning, item number 6. Kathy, you wanna,
Yeah, so I just wanted to get any feedback from you guys about this draft, which is what would go out to consultants. There's obviously some things that are not filled in yet, like the project timeline and I think probably we would submit this or put it out to the public for bids in January. I don't think it makes sense to do it, a week before Christmas. So we would do it first thing in the new year and hopefully get our responses back within, 2-3 weeks so that we can get moving. But I wanted to give everyone a chance to take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions or feedback. In terms of the scope of work and the project description, we tried to leave it a little bit broad so that the consultants can let us know what they think is the best way to be innovative and go about this in a kind of creative and engaging way. So if you have questions about why, like about the project description, we purposely left it a little bit open-ended, but we did specify at least 3 in-person meetings so that they can meet with the board and they can meet with staff and they can at least do, 1 community meeting. But, what we're finding with community meetings is the virtual ones are much more successful anyway, because people don't have to come out of their houses. And we also mentioned the idea of technical tools. I know some of the consultants out there have really great, have developed really great platforms for engagement. There's a link right on your homepage and people can click on it. So I think that we'll be looking for that type of capability. So I wanted that to kind of be mentioned in the description.
and the only thing, and I don't know if this is, if we want to say anything, but in the description, the physical description of the building, the space, the park, there's no mention of, I thought the library and the senior center share a wall. Is there any shared spaces? Because there's no mention that the senior center is very, very close to the library. And if we're looking at innovation or the whole entire project, and I know the consultant isn't looking at the senior center, but I think they have to look at that building and say, well, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know that it would inform their bid, but it's something they would talk about when they
That's-
meet with us.
yeah.
But
it's to come up with a strategic plan, not a tactical plan about what you're going to do. It's more to deal with the strategic kind of things that the library should be doing for the future. So I don't think that is relevant, that that the senior center is next door.
Well, but just the shared space.
But it's not a shared space, is it? Which
Not
space
right
is that?
now.
don't know.
I mean,
some, like
But
the
the patio, there's a door that goes into,
But what do you do with that? I mean, what does that
lot,
have to
a
do?
lot. I mean,
No. What does that have to do with strategic planning? It doesn't have anything to do with
Yeah,
strategic.
it's just the goals and outlines as opposed to, here's what I want to do with the eastward facing wall, it's not. So I agree with David on this, that it's
Yeah.
a big picture. It certainly is something they need to be aware of. And Bianca, I recognize your concern that because the overall geographic footprint of this block has multiple uses as opposed to just the library. So it might be good to also emphasize it to some extent that the area surrounding the library is in fact a public park.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a little more, germane to it, because they may come up and say, better use of public space, or something like that. But
Well, just like there's this great line about the community room is not well integrated with the rest of the library facility.
But
Yeah.
that is part of the library, is it not? I mean, the community room is reserved through the library, and we could in fact utilize that more. And if the community is saying, if through their discussions, they find that the community wants more concert in the community room, then that's fine. The community is not going to say, we want more concerts over in the senior center. So I think they're going to have to really think through the kinds of questions that go out to the community in terms of what is the role and purpose of this library within the community now, as the community is changing, because the community is changing, roles of libraries are changing. If there's we're not through with this, the effect of this pandemic, and will not be for another 4 or 5 years. I mean, we're seeing lots of things happening that are going to change the way we look at libraries.
Well, and I think Dean's, I like Dean, your perspective too, the big picture looking, because I still think that it needs to be mentioned that.
Actually, after listening to David just describe what he did, I'm gonna jump ship, David, and sit with Bianca on this. I don't think it needs to be a big deal, but I think in order for them to gauge that and to have an understanding of how the library sits within the community, it would be useful to just literally to state where it says, the library, what's it say? Library is 24,500 square feet, has a dedicated area, blah, 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 is surrounded by a well-used public park, and shares a communal wall with the community's senior center.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's.
Literally, just so that
It is
they're
fine.
aware.
I have no problem putting like one statement in there, but that's no.
Yeah.
I do not want them to get hung up, and we don't want them to get hung up on the senior center.
I don't think they will, but at least they'll have the understanding that the library is not, as oftentimes they are, the library is not an island. It's not sitting by itself with,
Dean, you're absolutely right. And to that point, they need to understand what is going to be happening across the street from the community room. Because very soon, I don't know when, but
that's actually an excellent point.
There's going to be massive demolition going on there.
Major construction.
So
demolition and then construction, yeah.
I think maybe I'll mention something generally about the city of South Pasadena and the growth and the arena numbers, so that there's some understanding of the fact that the population may grow quite a lot over the next 8 years. And so that I mean, I don't know that we need to call out that project specifically, but we can say that we're right in the center of a very of an area that's developing. And
Well, I mean, there's going to be 4 major projects are going to be right within the 2 blocks.
So that's a really good point, is to make sure that there's some mention of kind of what's happening in the city as a whole,
Right.
which is this development piece. So
And where the demographics are headed in terms of the city generally. You know,
mhm,
Yeah,
since you can do it maybe in terms of since the last strategic plan was done, the population has become whatever, you know.
I don't know if I know that. I mean, all I have
I
is
know.
the census, so
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
know if I
I
know.
don't know, but you know,
But
When
yeah,
was that done?
but you
Strategic
know,
plan?
the other thing, Kathy, is they can get that information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can go and get a lot of that
Right.
information. It's the information that they are not cannot easily get. And that's one of the things you measure them on, is how much work they put into taking a look at what
Right.
ahead of time.
right. And for them to do the project, they have to, you know, some of the information they'll get from us. I know that with the last strategic plan, the consultant asked for, you know, he wanted statistics about this, and this, and we had to provide all that
Mhm.
for him.
Mhm.
And I think it's the same here, you know, that they have to have a certain understanding of the library. So this is just to give them kind of a basic understanding of what type of library this is, what the community's like. And then once they are selected and are the consultant that we're working with, they get much more into the details of, oh my gosh, there's going to be a big building going up across the
Yeah.
street, and this is happening and this is happening. So, but I think you're absolutely right. We should mention the public park. We should mention residential development, and we can easily throw in that, you know, we're adjacent to the senior center.
right. And I agree with you, David. I think the future of libraries is a big piece of this too.
And I think most consultants that do this kind of
Yeah.
work are on that.
Yes.
Southern California Library Cooperative is undergoing a strategic plan,
Mhm.
and I'm on the executive committee, so we reviewed those proposals that came in, and all of them were very on top of this kind of the pandemic and what's happening and what are the changes, and you know, what do we need to do to be nimble and
Right.
not reactionary, blah, blah, blah. So I think the good consultants are.
Well, they're on top of that.
Yeah,
No, and I liked it that it was, I liked it that it was very concise, clear, to the point.
yeah. They
You know,
don't,
a thank you. It was just not a, you know,
So Kathy, is this going to people who are known consultants? It's not going to, okay, so
yeah, I think we'll send it out to specific consultants that we know of. And we'll also probably put it just on the California State Library list, so that consultants that are following that can see it.
mhm.
We're not putting it on something like Planet Bids or some big, you know, bid platform. We'll kind of target it to the places
I hope it's good.
that consultants are.
I mean, it
I
does,
took it out at like 1:38.
okay.
it does list, you know, a qualification as being, you know, past performance, previous experience in public library strategic planning, so.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's good. If you don't have other issues, then we'll make those changes and get that going in the beginning of the new year.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Number 7, volunteer recognition. Yes. we need to-
Yeah, I wanted to start a conversation about volunteer recognition. So for those of you who maybe Dean doesn't know, the Board of Trustees normally every year has put together a luncheon for volunteers to recognize their service. And it's typically, the format has been a speaker, 20, 25 minutes with a speaker, any awards that are being given for service, and then just a nice luncheon in the community room. I think this year, I'm not particularly comfortable having a luncheon, a masks off, sit down and eat together with a bunch of people. So, and in general, I've been thinking about the format and what we do, and just looking at what else we might do, what we might do differently. What ideas do you guys have about how we might recognize volunteers? we've been doing the same thing for a long time, and I wonder if it's time to think about something else. And this year in particular, when we can't eat together, I thought we could do a concert. I mean, we could do some kind of an event, but maybe not with,
Refreshments, not with,
Yeah, well, how about, I like that concert idea, or some other type of communal event with a takeaway. Make it like a 5-year-old's birthday party, and everybody gets their take home, their gift bag.
I was thinking about that, like a library mug or, some little something that, each volunteer gets a little something.
Well, maybe, what is the budget for this event typically?
Typically, the budget, I believe, is around, we normally have in the Board of Trustees budget around $1,500. I think we normally spend around $1,000.
yeah, I was gonna spend about $1,000.
And if we're not doing elaborate food,
Mhm.
because I think most of the money, typically goes to the food
For
and
the food.
so if we're not renting tables and we're not doing elaborate food.
So maybe we could put together a gift basket that has something other, or gift bag that has a mug or a t-shirt or some library thing. And maybe 1 or 2 things from the community that might be nice. When does this event usually take place?
In the spring, typically like April.
So, we have a lot of community-based businesses that we could probably make some kind of deal with and acquire some items to put into such a bag. It's quite, if we're talking April, there's a good chance by April we'll either all be dead or, be out and about with no masks.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a concert though, wouldn't that, because the most of the volunteers are
What do you mean
friends
by-
of the,
What do you mean by a concert?
like restoration concerts.
Yeah, like chamber music. I
Chamber,
think,
yeah.
for this game.
Not a rapper?
There's one May 22nd with New Hollywood String Quartet. But we have a lot of volunteers and they're pretty much sold out.
Yeah, there's not enough room.
No, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do it
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
restoration,
Yeah, we'd
but
have to do
music like that, not like a rock and roll band. I'm
Right,
thinking of a
right.
restoration concert.
How many volunteers are we talking about, Kathy?
Sean, how many invites do we usually send out?
We usually send out over 100 invites,
wow.
and on a good luncheon, we've gotten 70 attendees.
Okay.
Okay, that's gonna make it.
But I think they come out for the social and the food.
Yeah.
And if we're not gonna have,
And sometimes
food,
the speaker,
social,
we've had
and the
good,
speaker,
we
yeah.
have very good speakers
Speakers.
as well.
Yeah.
We've had very good speakers.
Yeah.
Because Andy got us, Andy Lippman got us a
You
lot of,
guys are, John Horn and people like that.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he has some
And
really good
Deutsch,
speakers.
what was her name?
Oh,
Oh,
Linda Deutsch.
Linda Deutsch,
there
yeah.
you go. And Alan was good as well.
yeah, Alan's talk about the
Yeah.
San Marino, the Huntington Library, when he did that about
No,
the
he-
woman
he-
library.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
talked about the
The-
who
the
lived on the
bookseller.
corner of where I live. Who
Yeah.
lived, where she did the book with antiquarian, one of the first. So people in that is another thing then that you consider is have a good speaker. The friends usually recognize people.
Yes.
We get people
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
the state, the
Mhm.
representative.
Yeah, they give out the nice
Right,
little
right.
Right,
certificates.
right,
Mhm.
folks from Judy Chu's office, it's in
Mhm.
the still on, and Holden's office and stuff like that. The only thing we would be missing would be the food.
Unless we were outside.
Yeah, but April is,
yeah.
It doesn't have to be
Well,
April.
we also have people, I'm thinking I could
People can be fickle.
be fickle, but I'm picturing some of the mobility issues with
Yeah.
some people. I'm trying to
There
picture,
are some people.
rolling over the grass on a
and the,
wheelchair.
and the library lawn is not, there's not a lot of flat
Yeah,
places.
That's
so it's-
exactly, it would be
No.
hard to do it outside.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, Let's assume we do it at the library as well. Best to do it at the library. I don't see why we're not doing it.
Well, I like the idea of a little, swag bag, but maybe we could do, a little food,
Takeaway.
that take,
Mhm.
if there was like baked goods or,
Jones Coffee.
yeah, something a little
Uh-huh.
bit, so, because, just being across the street, a mug is just something more to have. And
Right.
I would like something maybe more sustainable. I mean,
Mhm.
how many, look, when we go into our kitchen closets, how many mugs do we all
Yeah.
have
A
already?
lot.
So, and that's, I would like to do something maybe more on this, sustainable.
Yeah.
I mean, even like,
So,
I mean-
so I guess we don't have to decide.
no, but
So,
let's,
so, but where we're headed towards is some event that has a speaker, a recognition component to it, and maybe some music, light music or something like that, and a swag bag to take away.
I sort of think we should choose between music or a speaker,
Yeah,
because
not
I
both.
think it's be a lot of programming, if we do both.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have in mind in terms of the music is some kind of music. It's not concert music, but a guitarist or something
Background
like
music.
background.
Yeah. Oh,
where
sure.
People come in and
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not the event. That's just have a nice feel to it.
Mhm.
I think they would enjoy just getting together
Yeah.
and speaking and talking amongst themselves, getting to know their
You-
colleagues. They
yeah,
don't really
you know,
meet them
That's
much.
right. You're absolutely right. You could have a little mingle kind of thing while meet and greet,
Mhm,
mingle,
mhm.
who is this Kathy Bennett anyway?
Yeah, and recognition. I think
Yeah.
getting together in a social environment, right, I guess, with food and getting recognized. I don't think they need a speaker.
Something that might be kind of different, breaking the mold a little.
Mhm.
We could have Brad Colrick write and perform a song for the volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Something like that would be nice as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of
Yeah,
things
for
that could be
recognition, yeah.
done around that.
I wonder if you
Actually,
would,
none of them have ever had a song written and performed for them.
that would be really fun.
But Sally, you're still wanting
No,
some kind of
Sally-
food refreshments though, can we?
Another
Yeah.
thing, let me just throw something else in there. Raffles. People enjoy raffles.
Maybe that's what we ask the community, we try
Oh,
to get
yeah.
a few
Yeah.
bigger
Vendors, yeah.
prizes.
Get
Yeah.
some decent prizes as well from the
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
Well, can we, are we feeling comfortable that if you can only, you'd have to RSVP and you can only come if you've been
Right,
vaccinated?
absolutely,
And then
absolutely.
that would make some of us, but I don't know, see, if we're in the community room, isn't it, we have to have our masks on, right?
Yeah, if we're indoor, well, by April, who knows? We just don't know. Right now, yes. That's the thing. I guess I worry that if we don't have any food, like if we feel unsafe having food and people with their masks off, will people still come to hear a talk? Like you said, they will enjoy getting awards and hearing
Right.
each other, but
Yeah,
are they gonna be just stunned though if they come and there's no luncheon?
yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? That's probably the main reason I was thinking of doing something like a concert or something different where they wouldn't expect the
Right,
luncheon.
Right,
Mhm.
lunch.
I think that must be what was going through my head, is that this year,
Uh-huh.
because we can't give them a lunch, we have to give them something different perhaps, but
Well, what if you're
I mean,
outside and it's later in the year and it's at another venue like Mike and Ann's, it's outside
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they're at
But-
tables, and
but-
there's plenty of tables there.
Yeah, but can Mike and Ann's do 70 people?
we can't afford it, I don't
I
think.
don't
You do 70 people at $1,500, which is,
No,
No.
Not at Mike and
no.
Ann's.
No.
Well, we wouldn't get 70 people,
Well, you would.
yeah.
We'd have
Yeah,
to,
Well,
I'll tell you
I mean,
what,
we know the
if you told
owners.
me to come and come over and do the Mike and Ann, you'd get a lot of.
We know them, I mean,
I'm wondering how many of our volunteers are not able to manage the concrete in front of the community room. You know,
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
concrete
big
thing,
wide-
okay, yeah.
we got the concrete in front, in front of the community room for those who are mobilely significantly challenged. We've got the flat that's in front of there. So I think that we could utilize that outside space pretty effectively. We've done it for all the launch events that we've had for the various measures with, 50 to 70 people grabbing a cupcake or whatever. And we've had ice cream sundaes and various things.
Yeah, but they're very short kinds of things, though, Dean. It's like
How long is this event usually taking place?
an hour.
At least an hour.
At least an
Yeah.
hour. Usually
Yeah.
the speaker speaks for
Yeah.
20 minutes,
Yeah.
25 minutes, and then the awards are 15 or 20 minutes, and then they're eating part of that time.
Well, but again, my point being that we could have tables on it's reasonably flat. There's a reasonably flat area there where we could have tables and chairs for people to sit if we want to do it outdoors. That I think would be effective, could be an effective use.
I think that'd be very nice.
Because we're not going to be able to get Mike and Ann.
Dean, are you thinking that they would eat out there?
Yeah, if we were outside, then we would eat.
So they need tables and a
Buffet,
thing. Well,
type of thing.
and something to shade. You need some kind of shade, a tent or something like that out there.
Oh, that gets complicated then.
They get a
Well,
big
or
tent.
Yeah.
tent or umbrellas or something like that.
I mean, maybe we, so we've thrown a lot of ideas around, maybe we sort of wait a little bit to see where things are going. I mean, we don't have to start planning it immediately. Maybe we'll know better in January, February, and we can pick a date now, or not today, we can pick a
Yeah,
date in
yeah.
January.
Yeah.
And let's see where we are, because again, planning for outside, then if it's inclement weather,
Yeah.
we have to move inside. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
my hope is that, let's all just hope maybe we don't have a mask requirement inside anymore by April, and then we can just,
Yeah,
have
yeah.
what we normally have. And then the trick will be, what we need help with is recruiting a speaker. So
Yeah.
that's something all of you guys can start thinking about if we're gonna do a speaker instead of music.
What we could go back to is go back to Mario and say, hey, Mario, remember you got us?
She would, that, the Huntington woman would do it, I'm sure,
I'm sure.
if we reach back out to her.
I was just going to suggest that a friend of mine is the operations manager for Huntington now, so he has
Oh,
good
nice.
access to anything Huntington.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, everybody, all of you have your different connections. So yeah, we could reach back out to her and say, we're back on. Are you still willing
Yeah.
to do
The
this?
masking use requirement is a city requirement.
No, it's county,
County.
Los Angeles.
For indoor, where you eat indoor, the only requirement I'm aware of is you have to be fully vaccinated.
No, you have to be masked indoors.
If you,
Unless you're eating.
I go to-
Well, yeah,
I go to
You're allowed
places-
to, you have to be seated in a place. You can't mingle and
Yes,
wander
yes,
around.
yes,
So you
yes.
have to be seated. You can take your
Right.
mask off to eat,
Right.
and you're supposed to put it right back on. The reality is that people do not
No,
put it back on.
No.
And I don't feel very comfortable hosting an event where I know people are gonna be not compliant with the rule.
Yeah, given the demographic, I think we need to be cognizant of that.
Yes, we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of with Sally, because, I've gotten
You
to
said a good meal
volunteer.
eating there, Dean.
What is he doing?
What are you
He's having
eating?
dinner.
I know we're having dinner, but what is it?
It's steak and it's a steak and some braised bok choy.
Sounds very good with a glass of wine.
I don't drink, but it would be lovely with a nice Cabernet.
Okay.
Well, I made kale soup for Ron and I tonight. so
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Mm.
But I like your idea, because
Yeah.
I've gotten to know with some of the volunteering that I've done, and everybody's kind of social and people want, it's lovely, like just to start and meeting like Donna and Marcia
Yeah.
and Karen, and talking to everybody.
And everyone doesn't really get together. They're hearing different
Yeah,
shifts
right.
and
So-
they don't.
and
They may not
Yeah.
even need a speaker. They may
So I'm
just
just
get a
thinking
Brad
just-
Ulrich song and
They don't
have
need
the
a
lunch
speaker.
and visit
They
and
want to just talk and get
Maybe this would
recognized.
be
and get
just-
their awards.
Maybe it just would be something like, here's a chance, let's get out and be
And be-
social and
Yeah, just
talk
get to know
and
each
get to
other.
know each other.
Mhm. And then we have all these new restoration
I think
people,
you need a bit.
you know,
I
that
think you
we're
need
not
a
used to
bit
mingling
more
with.
than that. I really do. I really think you need, because that's not recognition. Get out and meet one another.
No, I mean, they
No, have it.
recognition as well.
Okay.
And have the
To
award.
With
have-
the swag bag and the awards.
But
and-
not necessarily, sometimes the speaker, they're wonderful, but I'm thinking
It's
people have been so cooped up,
right.
maybe
you
they
wanna-
just want to get and be just.
Yeah, you
social.
can't really talk to people at your table because the speaker is speaking.
Right.
Okay, so let's think, so we'll revisit, but I feel
Yeah,
like at
yeah.
least we throw it around.
If I can just add one more element,
Yeah,
I was just having a conversation with the executive director for the Beverly Hills Bar, where I'm a committee chair, and we're organizing an event with another bar. And we're, do we want to have speakers? And she and her cohort there were very adamant that when they have speakers, they just get talked over.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Even when they're august speakers,
Right.
Supreme Court judges talking about recent cases.
yeah, people wanna,
Once you get more than about
Really?
20 people in a room, the chit chat will just keep going.
Ours are-
No,
don't do
that
that.
hasn't happened here, Dean, at all. It, in the events, and I've been to like 4 of them trying the pandemic even, and that never happened.
Hmm.
When the speaker came on, people got very much involved, and then there was an engaging
Yeah.
Q&A afterwards, usually.
Was there a Q&A?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's been always a Q&A.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think unless it's going to be a formal sit down, I love the idea of having background music,
yes,
some introductory comments, some award, statement, and social. That I think would be lovely.
and a swag bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who doesn't like a takeaway?
Well, you know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of new people for the restoration
there
concerts and
are, you know.
a lot of new,
and
are we getting new volunteers in the
Yes,
bookstore?
We're
Yeah.
getting new volunteers.
So, yeah.
Sally, we
Uh-huh.
could also poll the volunteers and say,
Yeah,
hey, we're
what-
looking at the
what would
rest, the
you-
recognition and.
Now,
you know,
there's an
what's-
idea.
What's most, what's most special to you is that,
Right.
we can just give them a,
Like a
rate it
multiple
from
choice,
1 to
yeah,
5,
right,
a
right.
special speaker, music, time
Yeah,
to socialize,
Yeah.
food, and just see what they say.
yeah.
Maybe that's something we could do,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
since they're the ones
They're the
we're
ones,
planning it
right.
for.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll pull the volunteers just to
I
see.
got Mike and Ed right
Yeah,
I like
if we
that
could
idea.
I don't think we can
I don't think
afford
we
it.
can.
now. We got the budget.
No, I mean,
They'd have to give us the space
Yeah,
for free, but they're,
exactly, you have $1,000.
but they're open all the time, right? I mean,
No, they're closed Mondays.
oh, they are closed Mondays, so they would
Believe
let us
so.
do it on a
Oh, just
Monday.
space,
Yeah,
okay.
well, again, I mean, if by April, it may be fine to use the
Yeah.
community room, and it's
Yeah.
special to use the community
Yeah.
room, because it's the library, so you
Yeah.
feel like you want it,
We wouldn't have to rent all those tables and
Yeah.
those chairs. and
That's
all that,
true,
you
they
know?
would have the tables and stuff. All right, well, that's certainly something,
Yeah.
do you know them?
Yes,
You do?
Yeah.
Okay,
mhm,
I mean, that's the trick, is that
yeah.
once we
know
get
that.
to this, we need you
Uh-huh.
guys to be out kind of
Mhm,
trying to talk to the people to get at the raffle
Mhm.
prizes and get this and that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Unless anybody has any other suggestions
that
at this
sounds good.
time,
Those are
I think we're
Well,
good,
that's
and
good
yeah,
idea.
and we'll look
It
at it,
sounds
we'll
like
look at
fun.
a date in January and
okay.
start to get it on the calendar and
Okay.
get that
And-
figured out.
And it's important to get it on the calendar reasonably early.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we've run into things like
Yeah.
Easter and, all
Right.
kinds of strange things
Right.
we have to
No.
look at.
Right, Sean will look at the calendar and try to get some potential dates and look at, make sure what else is happening in the city and the holidays and try to help us hone in on something.
It comes down to a small number of dates.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right, so that gives us all good things to think about for the volunteer recognition. Thanks for keeping us on track with that, Kathy. We do need to do that for this year. Speaking of then, would we carry over? When did we not have one in, when was the last time that we had one in 20?
No, we didn't
No,
have it in
we
20
didn't.
because it was
20 was
March.
pandemic.
We were
So-
planning it. and
But
then
that money isn't carried over.
No, not the money, but the
Yeah.
recognition,
Yeah, we'll think about that. Okay, we'll figure that part out.
Yeah.
because we'd want to go back and at least recognize people, not, I mean, just say,
Right.
because we couldn't have it, we thank you
Right.
for,
Right.
because that would have been what, 1920 or 2021?
Yeah, but no, it wasn't in 20. It
So
wasn't in
19 again.
19 was the last time it was done.
Yeah.
Okay. In 20, it may be tough to go back and figure out who was.
No,
who were-
not names, but just saying that, in 2020, we didn't have this,
Oh,
but
okay, gotcha.
if you,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all.
right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we basically we're missing 2 years.
years.
2 years.
It's a lot. But of
Yeah.
course, for a lot of that time, people didn't volunteer but yeah, we need to get back on and Kay and Kathy. And we
Yeah.
have friends, board members we had
Right.
5 last
Right.
year who left. We have,
Right.
Yeah.
so there's a lot of people that just kind
Look
of went out the
invited.
door without much.
But
Are
we
they
can,
just-
we can still say their names though,
No, you
because
can
they're not
invite them.
around.
We can invite them.
Yeah, they'd be invited. and-
Invite the old friends of the library people that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
have rolled up in between, they can be invited.
Yeah.
We can get several hundred if we want.
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
joking.
have volunteers other than the board and the bookstore people?
Not really,
and
only
now
the teens
restoration?
and
Oh, the teens, so we
we don't
wouldn't,
have many adult.
you don't have
volunteers.
other volunteers, okay.
All right, okay, good things to think about then for
Yeah.
a party in the spring.
Yeah,
All right, then moving on, number 8, the 2022, the Library Board of Trustees work plan.
so the good news about this is that it's short and sweet for now because the city manager really wants us to wait until the strategic plan comes out at the end of the year. So I think that
Oh, the city.
city strategic plan, correct? And I don't know if you have been notified as board members. Have you received anything from the city clerk that says that at the next council meeting, there's an item on the agenda to extend people's terms? Okay, so you're supposed to be getting a communication about that. Because they're looking at commissions and
Yeah.
they're not gonna appoint everybody in January. And they're gonna,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I believe they're going to be saying, are you willing to stay on for a couple of months while we do our business that we're trying to do with commissions and boards? So I think between the strategic plan and what that looks like, which you should get a communication soon, because I asked them to please send it on Tuesday, because I said,
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything.
okay, so
Does that
stay
mean their
tuned.
2 terms can be extended?
Just temporarily. I
Yeah.
think it's just for, just for a month or 2,
Okay.
so that we don't have but again, I said, some people may not want to do that.
Yeah.
So you really need to tell them that you're doing this, and I understand that it's not official until council, has the item in front of them, but they could still just say, FYI, we are putting this item in front of the council. So I'm
December
telling you that
15th?
now. Yeah, next
Oh,
next
okay.
week.
Well, after the last Board of Trustees meeting, when we talked, I actually put in my application.
Right.
And then I got a response back from Christina,
Mhm.
Christine.
Yeah, Christina. Mhm.
Christina, and she said, Bianca, this is fine, we've got it, you don't have to do anything, because I asked her, do I need to do anything else? And she says, nope. So,
Yeah, so stay tuned. You should be getting
Okay.
some kind of communication either before the council meeting next week or in advance of that, just letting you know that the council is going to be looking at this item and acting on it. But as far as the work plan goes, we should wait for the city strategic plan to come out and then think about it. I mean, I think we have things that are going to be, this board is different than the rest of the commissions. So you have obligations and responsibilities that are tied to the strategic plan. We need to continue working on our policies. We have things that we're working on that we need to finish. But I think we can sort of save that conversation until January when we have, new members or.
Have you heard anything yet as to who they are, if they have come up with someone else?
No, no, because again, the council is expecting to ask or enable the current people serving to continue to serve for a couple of months, even if their term
if
is
they-
expired.
Even if their term is expired,
Correct.
and even if they're in their second term as well.
Correct. That's what this item on their agenda is next week. And I believe it's meant to be just for like a couple of months, so that the incoming mayor, instead of appointing people to commissions and the
Right,
board in January, maybe they do it in February or they do it in March. And again, my point to the city executive team was that it's going to be kind of a shock to some people who think they're going off, or by now you would have gotten an email saying, do you want to continue?
Yeah.
And if they haven't sent that, that's confusing too. Although my understanding maybe is that there aren't that many people affected, like not that many people's terms are coming up, but there have to be some.
Yeah,
No,
there's some in every commission.
Every commission has either one or two.
Yes, yeah.
Has either one or two who they're coming up.
Yeah. I think they need to communicate this.
Yeah,
to
I do
folks.
too.
So watch for that. But I think we can talk about the work plan in January.
Okay, perfect. All right, then moving on to library operations update. Kathy.
That is gonna be pretty quick too. I have a brochure that Dean, you won't be able to see this, but I wanted to just pass this around. We have a new suite of career development, skills building, resources that are being funded by the state library for a year. And there's some really great tools in this package. We have LinkedIn Learning, which is fantastic. We have Coursera, which is, thousands of courses on any topics under the sun. And Coursera is one where you actually get a lot of certificates. So if you're studying something specific, career related, you can get your certification. So at the jobs fair that we had a couple of weeks ago, we had this brochure and we introduced people to these resources. And the job fair was a success. There were a lot of employers there, maybe only 30 potential employees came. But I think it was sort of the timing and the publicity maybe didn't have quite enough time to get out, but that was not our responsibility. So we may do it again with the Foothill Workforce Development Board and the chamber. And hopefully if we do it again, we'll get the word out. They'll get that word out early enough. It's just, they wanted to do it before we got too close to the December holidays, but it also then pushed it real close to Thanksgiving. So it was a little bit tricky. But so we're getting the word out about these, and we made this brochure. So I think that's good. It's located down with the job information materials, so people can find it there. We sent copies to Foothill Workforce Development Board. We've sent copies to the Alhambra Development Board, Job Center. So that's that.
And then for those of us who follow the library on social media, it came out, and it was very good.
Yes.
Neat.
Yeah, because I follow you guys on social media.
Okay, good. Yeah, it should be on
I
social
got the
media.
blast from it too.
Good. It should be on social media and it should be in the email.
Uh-huh.
The teen advisory board put together, thanks to the Friends and funding from the Friends, little wellness kits for the teens for Spinals Week. So those are starting to get passed out. So that was really fun. And I think those will be popular. We launched our book kits, which I just brought one so you can kind of see what's in it. So basically the book kit comes in a bag like that. And the books are inside, and then there's a resource sheet. All of the resources are online, so they're PDFs. So if you get this sheet, and all you have to do is then go to the website and find articles about the author, about the book, discussions about, discussion questions about the book. And there's some videos, links. So there's basically just material to back up your book discussion, to help you.
Very sophisticated.
Yeah, that's how they, I know it is sophisticated. In Glendale, you just get a binder with the pages in it, but they did it online so that you just go, it's a PDF and you can just go and get it. So basically, if someone wants to borrow a kit, they just bring this card up to the desk and it's barcoded, and we just check out the whole kit to them.
Wow.
Where's the list of the books?
The
that
books are in the catalog, and then there's also going to be a display, which I don't think Olivia has finished yet. There's a display right to the left of the Friends Last Chance books in that kind of empty
Yeah.
covered thing there. That's where the display is going to be, and that's where these cards are. So you can just go through the cards and pull a card. So that's how you can see which ones we have at the moment.
So this is a book club. right?
Yeah.
It's a book club.
Yeah.
Are we gonna promote this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We put out a press release, but we
Yes.
need to figure out where the readers are. I think, it'll take a little time for people to get used to the idea. Our own book club, I mean, the book group that meets in the library, so the Friends have for many years supported that book group and bought all of their books for them, but that is changing this year.
Yeah.
But we have told that group that they certainly can recommend titles to us for us to make kits out of. So I anticipate that we'll hear from them and,
Is the kit for one particular book?
I think we have like 12 or 13 kits. So this happens to be this book,
Okay.
but it's a different book in each kit. Like each
Yeah,
kit is
okay.
different title. So I think we have, I don't know if we have 13, maybe we have 10 or 12.
Okay.
And then we have $1,500 from the Friends in 2022 to make additional kits. So that should get us, another 12 or so kits, I would think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I have a book club but I want to get the list of what we have to send it to them to say,
Oh, okay.
you all want any, are you interested in any of these books?
Yeah, if you go to our website, I'll send
Yeah.
you a link to the
Okay.
website because they're on the website.
There's somewhere.
And you
there.
can just
Okay.
click and go see them. Yeah, it's on the website.
Did anyone know the Romans still do their book?
Yes,
club?
they do.
They do, they
Yes.
still do, yeah. I wonder if they've got-
And the Los Angeles Times now has a book club,
Yeah.
because I belong to that one.
You just were.
Yeah,
on it
and
just
Patrick,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and
that's
that's-
yeah.
there's a lot of clubs like that we might choose, if it's Reese Witherspoon
Yeah.
picked a book or
Yeah.
Oprah picked a book, we could do
Yeah.
a kit so that people can read along with those.
Yeah.
Really long-
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
so we'll
great.
see. I mean, I think it takes a little while for people to learn that we have them, get used to the idea how to do it, but Glendale has hundreds of these and they circulate all the time. So they're very popular.
Well, it's really great because my club, people have a hard time getting the paper book. They have a
Mhm.
hard time getting the download,
Mhm.
the waiting list.
Right,
And there are a couple people in my group that can't afford really to
Right.
buy books.
right.
And then, a whole month goes by and they haven't really even
Had a
gotten it.
chance to
Mhm.
read it.
I've even mailed it to somebody.
Yeah.
I check it out from Alhambra or something and mail it to one of the people.
Yeah, I think that so we have eight copies in the kit, which I don't know if that's big enough. How many
Yes.
people is that big enough?
Yeah.
It depends on,
It
the
depends,
book.
yeah. the book.
It depends on the book.
And it depends on the group too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that would,
Yeah.
that would,
So yeah, help us
Yeah.
spread the word. If you know people
Okay.
who read, if you have book groups, but yes, Sally, let me
Yeah,
make myself
okay.
a note to send
Yeah.
you the link to that page. It's under programs, events and programs.
oh, okay.
There's a page for the book group.
Oh,
book group
okay.
kits
Oh,
under
that's
there.
great. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we sent out a press release, but we
I saw
haven't,
that.
I saw the press release. I thought it was a really
Yeah.
great idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I
so-
saw that.
Let's see, what else is on here? I wanted to share with you that, we used to have a printed calendar, you may
Yes,
recall.
yeah, yeah. I
And
remember
it
that
basically,
brochure.
starting in March 20, the last calendar is still hanging
Right.
back here in March 2020. And so we now have restarted the paper calendar, but we've revamped it to make it more of a kind of more of a little
Yeah.
booklet.
Oh, yes.
So, and I don't have multiple copies, but if you guys want to look at that, pass it around. So we'll see how people like that. They do
Yeah.
love the paper calendar, like the parents, they just, they
Yeah.
love to have the paper calendar. So we really needed to get it going again now that we have story time coming up and, but it just gives us a chance to spread some other information that we,
That's good.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a very nice one.
Yep.
Dean, it looks like, it's like a newsletter, Dean.
Yeah, I see it. Thanks.
Newsletter type.
so yeah, staff worked hard to get
Yeah,
that
I,
going.
she gave me some to get.
Um, The scary story contest, finally, we had a lot of trouble getting this printed, but I'll just pass that around.
Oh, yeah.
Judy did the scary story contest
Yeah.
and got lots of submissions, and it was hard to pick, who would
Yes.
be published
Oh,
in the,
these were the ones.
yeah, these were the
Nice.
ones that were selected to be
Right,
published, so
right.
we had some trouble with formatting that made it, made us skip this much past Halloween. But it's really cute, and there's tons of copies downstairs for families to take home, and the kids that whose stories are featured got copies for themselves too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There's
that
my
was cute.
neighbor.
Oh, really?
Rainier is my neighbor.
Really
Yeah.
cute.
Well, these are, did you see it? They're really
No,
cute, yeah.
cute.
Where are these?
In the
Downstairs?
children's room.
Okay.
They're on the end cap at the end of the paperbacks. And then the last thing that I wanted to tell you or have you look at is on the last page of the packet. Dean, you do not have this because it wasn't in the packet, but I can send you a link or I can hold it up to the screen. So we're talking about tables
Okay.
for
Yeah.
outside, because right now, we have the 2 tables
Yeah.
in that picnic, in that patio area. They're like 6 feet long and they have those
Yeah.
long benches.
Yeah.
And we really want to make it so that more people can enjoy that space. In conjunction with when we do the conduct about
Yeah.
how you use that space, we want to also just add seating. So this is after much looking for tables that are a little bit smaller scale, very
Yeah.
hard to find, shockingly
Oh.
hard to find. Like a small kind of cafe type table, or,
Yeah.
square,
Like
smaller.
a 4-top.
This is these are, I don't know how, I don't have the dimensions in front of me, but I would say it's maybe like 4 by 4, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And so we really like these, and we have quotes on these. We're getting a couple of other quotes because we have to have quotes, but I think this is probably the one that we'll go with. We have some samples of the actual physical materials coming to look at because we wanted to see those in person.
Yes.
But I think these would be nice, and I think we can get either 4 for sure, 5 in
That's what
there.
I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're gonna take those out?
yeah, we
They're
would take
there.
those out.
Okay.
And in terms of how we were gonna pay for these, Donna Potts, whose
Yeah.
husband,
Yeah.
Donna Potts is our longtime volunteers whose husband passed away, and they have, the friends have donations in his name, and Donna is interested in contributing to this.
Wonderful.
And then I probably will come back to you guys and ask you about using Romine or Mullen funds to make up the difference. And then, of course, the family that gave the original tables, we need to update the plaque because we would update the plaque. We could also consider using Dorothy Cohen money, unless we have some other earmark for that.
Are we,
And I've asked Parks if the Parks impact fee might help us pay for it. which-
Do we have any obligation to the people who donated the original tables? Do we need to get approval from them?
I think as long as we keep tables there, I mean, they can understand that the tables are that one of
Awkward.
them edged, and I think as long as we keep the plaque that says that they
Yeah.
contributed to these tables, I don't think the actual tables make any difference. But we could reach out to the family. I mean, maybe we would reach out to the family just as a courtesy to say, just so we're gonna be changing the
Right.
tables.
What will you do with the existing tables? Is there a way to aftermarket those?
I don't know. They're from 2013. One of them is really damaged and the other one is fine. But yes, probably they'd maybe go to a different, I don't know. I have to ask Sheila. Maybe there's another park that
Yeah.
can use them, or maybe they can go somewhere else. We would try to figure out if they're in decent condition. We could keep the benches for sure, and put benches somewhere. The tables themselves, maybe. The one table is pretty damaged.
Yeah, that one table was bad. Yeah. Yeah, but we might be able to repurpose it here.
Yeah.
Well, my only thing, have you physically actually see, just standing, because like when you guys do the crafts
Yeah.
and Maiden, you and Olivia, Olivia's so tall, but I know when you
Yeah.
guys are out there, how,
It's kind of,
how-
awkward there.
how
Uh-huh.
tall.
We have the dimensions,
Yeah.
we can look at
Yeah.
that. I mean, they're regular table size, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
they're just basically like this.
Yeah, they're just smaller, so you can have more intimate groups rather than having a few people at a table with a lot of wasted space. It makes a lot of
Right,
sense.
and with the crafts now, the benches are so far back from the table that the kids are just
Oh.
falling through the
I know.
crack. It's really doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So these would actually be better, I think, anyway, and you could seat many, like, because now you maybe have 2 kids on a bench.
Well, if you can stand, can't you, it looks like you could.
Yeah, you can
actually
scoot right in there,
Somebody could
Yeah,
stand
especially
right
kids.
next
Kids
to-
you could get a cluster of 8 kids around
Yes,
a little
you
table
could.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really liked these. We have a bid from a company in Switzerland that are way too expensive, but to find something that has like a kind of a wood look, these are probably actually wood, but we're getting samples of their kind of wood grain polyethylene, or I don't know what it's called, but something that doesn't have to be.
Mayor Mahmood is joining us.
Oh, good. That doesn't have to be stained every 6
Yeah.
months. Or something. So we're gonna get samples of the materials so we can see how we like these powder finishes and how we like the different wood grain.
Oh, yeah, these are nice. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
So funding remains to be determined, but this is sort of the what we're going for is smaller tables that will accommodate more people and more groups of people. So
But the configuration of the patio will be the same. These will just be,
So there would be just the 2 tables in the patio.
no, there'd be
4.
4 or possibly 5, depending on the layout. So we have a layout from the vendor who has like, you have to have this many inches and you have to have this many inches, but I'm waiting for making an appointment with Public Works to look at that with us.
but the square footage of the existing patio, that's it, what we're working with.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we would, and because it slopes off
Yeah,
quite a bit. The good thing about this is because it's a central post and the seats are attached to the post, you could be on the slope. You just have one seat that where you might be a little bit a higher seat. Or we also, one of these would have a blank space on one side for wheelchairs too. So they have ADA versions. So we would have a mix of the regular ones and at least one ADA. Probably one is enough, but we'll look at that.
right.
For sure, 4 fit, 5 may or may not fit. I need Public Works. I need somebody who's actually on site to look at it.
Yes.
We sent pictures to the vendor, but they're not actually here. So I need someone who can actually look at it and tell us what they think. So that's the last thing I have. I feel like we just met not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of new information to share with you.
So is Diana on the line?
Diana, are you with us? Yes, she is.
Okay.
She is.
Right, we'll move on to communication.
Bless you.
Bless you.
That's you.
Yes. I know, it just feels like we just kind of met, and I'm just thinking, the only thing I thought the holiday book sale was for the Friends. Thank you, it was lovely. I helped to volunteer and it was very organized. I thought it was very well run. I'm sure you're gonna fill us in with the wonderful details, but it was nice, and it's and for me, what is nice is getting to know the volunteers and the friends and more of the community, because I think what brings out other people in the community are books, the love of books and the library. So you get to meet a different people from the city and the community when it comes to books. So
It's good for them to get to know you, Library Board of Trustees, which is a big plus.
yeah, and I always forget, I in the future, can we wear name tags or not?
We should make you guys name tags.
Yeah, we should
they don't
probably
know.
have name
Yeah,
tags.
they don't know.
I will get my name tags made for you.
Yeah, because it's nice to, and I probably, in the future, I should, try to remember to bring a name tag. So that's all the communications that I had. David.
Well, this is my last meeting.
Oh,
And-
well,
And
maybe not.
Well, not according to what Kathy said.
Well,
Well, it's
it's
my
his-
last meeting.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, yeah.
So I'd like, if people don't mind, take a few minutes to reflect on the last 4 years and some of the things that have gone on.
That would be lovely.
Yes.
And some, the first meeting I attended, actually before the first meeting I attended, there was a item that came out on the agenda, and I wanted to get some more information on it, and I had some questions, and I sent out the questions to all the people who had their names on the agenda, and lo and behold, that was my first encounter with the Brown Act. And Steve very graciously explained to me that
Can't do that.
No.
and I would be receiving Brown Act training very shortly. But it was an indication to me right up front how difficult this was going to be compared to other boards and other efforts, volunteer efforts I had done, which were much more kind of collaborative and did not have this Brown Act thing hanging over us. And I understand it. Now I understand why it's there and all of that, but it certainly inhibits some and subcommittees and so on. At the first meeting, there were 3 main items on the agenda. The Ray Bradbury, what was to be done with the Ray Bradbury conference room, and there were various proposals in at that time. And the proposal that I think, Dean, you may have even been
Yes, he
bringing a
was probably
proposal
there.
in.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, the proposal was tiles on the wall outside here. And the other item, 2 items that were on the agenda, and the one that I had the question about was the fine-free library. And it was decided then that it was not the right time because of budget constraints. That they did not want to, that the word had come not to do it. And other timing issues I could see as well, because it wasn't happening. It was in planning down in San Diego and stuff like that.
Right.
And then another big item was the foundation. So there was 3 items. There was the foundation, the Ray Bradbury, and so on. I got to be vice president by default. I have no idea what a vice president did, but Brendan was the president. Alan said he couldn't have another position. Andy Lippman was not showing up, and Caroline was the secretary. And so I found there was a steep learning curve in addition to all the constraints, perceived constraints by me of the Brown Act and not being able to meet with other people that were having things going on. It's like, okay, well, how can I get involved in that? And I couldn't because they were existing people already. Along the way, in terms of the Ray Bradbury, Steve and I happened to come across Tim Kerry in the meeting. And so the discussions then turned to actually doing the triptych and what could be done in this conference room. So we came up with a first discussions, and Tim Kerry was very interested in doing something for the city. So main highlights from 2018. So having been vice president, I was convinced by Brendan that now he could no longer be president, that I should now be president. And like I couldn't believe it, but I ended up doing that. And when I dropped off of the board, and Luther had joined the board. And the first thing that really shocked us all as me as president was that Luther, due to his gender, was not selected to continue on the board. And that set a stage for some other things that then subsequently seemed to be going on within the city. But we got Bianca, which was terrific, and we got Deborah, which was terrific.
Because of her gender.
Yeah, that was the year in which there were no male people were
Appointed, or
appointed
reappointed.
to commissions. And so the main thing that went on that year, from my standpoint, relating to the items that I first started out on, which I really wanted to make sure that something happened on those 3 items that were in the first meeting I went to. And the 21st Century Committee was very contentious in terms of the Friends were not going to support it, the Friends were going to support it, not support it, and it went back and forth. And eventually, what was decided was that it would be moved to be under the Friends. So that was where we ended up eventually. Alan had put a lot of work in this, and Alan was very adamant about that the 3 things had to be in place: a stable city council, the Friends had to support it, and that a librarian who had been here for a long period of time. Steve then got with myself and Alan and made us aware of some of the problems he was having with his situation vis-a-vis the city manager and where things were headed with him. And he wasn't sure exactly where they were headed. He was hoping that that he would be able to remain some way with the library, but he wasn't sure that that was going to happen. And that kind of bothered Alan a lot. So Alan started to withdraw from that and just wanted to basically say, let's get let's do whatever I can to continue to support it, and did all the work he could to then handle and then to basically extract himself from it. In the middle of the year, that's when we lost Steve. So Steve was there, and that's when I had the pleasure of dealing with Stephanie. And it was not a very pleasant experience. I found her to be very manipulative and not necessarily supportive of this board, but supportive of what she wanted to do. And she just didn't strike me as a very good person. Meanwhile, continuing work with Tim Perry on the stained glass window, and did some of that behind the scenes. So, and this was with great help from you, actually, Diane. You pointed me in the right direction in terms of going to the Public Arts Commission, starting to lay the groundwork with them, with Mark Gatlin is his name?
Gallatin.
Gallatin, okay. And so that was gradually moving along. The decision was made by Stephanie to decouple the arts and culture from the library and just take the library down the path for a straight library. So I could never get an answer from her as to what was going to happen to arts and culture. Finally, at the end of 2019, or somewhere in there, the library tree got recognized. And so that was it. Come 2020, it started on a terrific note. I mean, it really did. I mean, I felt good, Kathy, and I know you did as well, when we had this meeting here with Judy and Olivia and Cynthia. In the very beginning, it's like, man, we've got a good staff in place. We can accomplish a lot this year. Bam.
Yeah.
Come March, it just all went pear-shaped. And it was really lucky that we had Judy, Olivia, and Cynthia, because I think having fresh people in, assume that they were very much instrumental, as were other people in the library, in putting things in place.
Absolutely.
Because an outstanding job was done of moving us to a virtual
Right.
and to a takeout and all the other things that went along with it. And at that point, let's see, who came on then? Anna Mario. Anna Mario then joined the board, right? Annie and Mario then joined the board together.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Annie and Mara joined board there. Alan and Brendan had left.
yeah, right.
That's-
And well, Deborah came in, Deborah Beadle.
No, Deborah came in with you.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
I apologize.
okay. So we kind of went in a different direction for a few months where there really wasn't anything that the board could do. I mean, there were several board meetings were canceled because for various reasons, you were very busy with just trying to get things going.
Yeah,
People's lives were all
yeah.
over the place. And then eventually, we got back to doing things. So in terms of some of the things that were going on at that point was a little behind the scenes still. I was working towards getting the window done because that was the year Ray Bradbury's centennial. It was his centennial year. And so Dr. Snyder came forward and he made a donation, and a few calls to local press and so on got coverage, and it started to go from nothing happening to now there was recognition now of, yes, this library has a unique piece of artwork that is going to get nationwide recognition as being put in for this centennial. And in October, it happened. So it was terrific. Final thing then was the fine-free library came into place, and the timing was just right at the beginning of the year, as a lot of other libraries were headed that direction. The community and all of the social upheaval also started to say, hey, this is inequitable. It's time to get rid of these fines. And now, we're reopening. The foundation is now with the friends, and assuming that everyone's saved all the stuff I've been pushing your way.
I haven't.
Okay, then it's ready to go very rapidly. So sort of going full circle, the first three things I came in on, I feel I'm leaving, having not personally accomplished them, but having some involvement to ensure that done. Diana, you and Bob have done a terrific job for this library as liaisons. I think you've done wonderful behind the scenes work, sometimes out in front work, to really champion the library and give people heads up on it all. I commend both you and Bob for that. Kathy done an outstanding job, just a wonderful job. Ellen and Sally, Ellen Torres and Sally, both you guys turned what I think was a little caustic, less supportive of the Library Board of Trustees, friends of the library, to now a partnership.
Absolutely.
And that's where we want to be, with a partnership. And then lastly, Sean is the world's greatest writer of minutes. And I miss the fact that Sean is not in the room with us.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Because one look of Sean can tell the whole table that they're heading in the wrong direction. So that's it.
Oh,
David, that was
Thank
lovely.
you.
That was lovely. Thank you.
So nice that the three things at your first meeting are all things that have
Yes.
come to
Yeah.
fruition, and you can feel that you've made this big difference.
yes.
I love it.
Well, wasn't just me.
Well, but you've been a really
Yeah.
important voice on the board these years.
Thank you.
And I know, David, you have mentored me a lot, and I, called you and emailed you a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And I hope I can keep doing
Of
that,
course.
or we all can keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because we won't,
But only to David.
yeah.
You've called and emailed only to David, not to two others at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, we can all talk to David. The Brown Act
Right.
matters, so it doesn't matter. He can talk to all of us. So, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Dean. do
Yeah, I can't follow that. I got nothing.
Diana, are you ready to?
Yes, I am. First of all, David, I enjoyed working with you so much. You were so dedicated, and you will definitely be missed. And I'm just very, very sorry that you've decided that you want to leave the board. But I think you can feel confident in the success of the things that you did work on. And I hope that you continue to be involved in some fashion with the library. And I have a very strong sense that that is going to be the case, just not necessarily on the Board of Trustees. I'm going to switch gears now and mention that I assisted staff in looking at some of the provisions of our municipal code in preparation for City Council's consideration. Really, it's a receive and file report that says, if you haven't had an opportunity yet to look at our agenda packet, essentially under our municipal code, it does provide that time the city will review the commissions. And I've been on council now for 8 full years. And during that time, we have terminated the freeway and transportation. We've replaced it with mobility and transportation infrastructure, but we have also added 2 new commissions, the Public Art Commission and Public Works Commission. And the commissions do take an awful lot of time. So there is a management assistant who is looking at the issue of commissions in general. And Armene is going to be announcing, I believe she may have just made a selection, but it's not public. I don't know who it is, of a deputy city manager. And as soon as that individual comes on board, my understanding is it's going to be the primary responsibility right off the bat of that individual to take a look at the commissions. I have to say, based upon my various tours of duty on the commissions, I think LBOT is probably the best organized of all of the commissions. And I think you should be very proud of the very efficient and professional way that you function. Now, as I was looking at the municipal code, there was something that I didn't realize, and I know you have a secretary, and I was surprised to see that actually every commission is supposed to have a secretary, and yours is the only one that I recall that actually has a secretary. And I would like for you to consider, and if you can, get back to me or to Kathy on whether or not you think that you should continue to have a secretary. You could always seek to have one, even if the municipal code doesn't require you to have one. But because no other commission or committee has one, we're going to be revising our SPMC with regard to commissions. There are some ambiguities, and I think I'm going to recommend that the position of secretary be eliminated as a mandatory office for commissions, and I really would like to hear from you on that. Otherwise, everyone have a wonderful holiday. You know, we have deferred the appointment and reappointment of commissioners. I anticipate that will likely occur by the end of February, I'm hoping, or beginning of March, because the municipal code also provides that the reorganization of each of the commissions has to occur by March 31. But I have no clue whether or not I will be reappointed. So if I'm not reappointed to LBOT, I want you to know how much I have enjoyed working with all of you, and just what confidence I have in the good hands and your leadership on LBOT. The library is probably the most important resource to the city. And Sally hopefully remembers that I have at this point frequently said that it's the literal heart and soul of the city. And I don't ever see my mind changing with regard to that.
Great. Well, thank you. Sally.
And thank you, Kathy, for
You're welcome.
keeping everything afloat.
You're
doing
welcome.
an outstanding job, as you know, I believe.
Thank you.
Yes, before I start my comments as a representative of the Friends, I just want to say, Diana, I really value so much your contributions as the liaison, and I would like to talk to Mayor Pro Tem about reassigning you, if that's agreeable to you. All right.
Yes.
Great, all right, from the Friends, we did have a holiday book sale, very successful. A lot of volunteers, they've learned a lot through the various book sales, and it was a very smooth, beautiful setup. They made over $3,000, sold 500 books. And the books are back here and they're gonna go on half price or something in a few days. We had extensive outreach to the media, the newspapers, social media, Chamber of Commerce, WISPA, Nextdoor, Facebook, Colorado Boulevard online. Just so I hope that had some impact on the people that came. The bookstore and the book sales have sold 17,000 to date just since June. So it's pretty good. And and we're just open part-time. The membership now is 28,000 for the year, and we only anticipated about 20. We have new board members joining the board and several leaving the board. Ellen Torres has agreed to serve as president for next year, just for 1 year, and hopefully the executive vice president will be able to move into that. That's Leila Bissner. From the Women's Club, we received a $500 grant for technical assistance for electronic communications. So we'll hopefully be using that for our website and improving our communications. I hope you all saw the newsletter on December 1st, and we also put out a 2-page, well, it's just a front and back. I don't know if you've seen that. That's go to the bookstore, and where is it? I have it here somewhere. The membership campaign, we're already starting. We're producing the piece right now to go out beginning of January to 1,300 names. People who were members, need to renew, or have donated to us. And I think, we had a presentation from Jericho Road. I think you mentioned that at the last. We received a letter from them afterwards, making some suggestions about things that they could help us with, the strategic planning, having a board retreat to, get to know the new board members and to start out the year, a refresh for our website, all the technical systems that a Friends group should have to do operations effectively. So we're planning on a board retreat next year. And the board is very appreciative of David Ewan's participation and contribution as a Friends liaison. And especially his work alongside the 21st Century Committee, and before that, the committees to establish a foundation. And he's very good at these timelines. He did this whole timeline of the foundation impetus and a long saga. And I really appreciate his work to create the impetus to move toward the foundation. And I don't know, we're in a hiatus now, but I see the future, and I really thank you for your part in that. Thank you. That's my report.
That's a nice report. And then back to you.
Nothing to add.
For the, okay, but that was very nice.
Just me?
Yeah, back to you.
Yeah, I also want to thank David and just let him know how great it has been having him on the board these years. It's been kind of a tumultuous
Yeah.
period in many ways. And he's been very steady and very wise and very helpful throughout. So I thank you for that, David, and you will be missed. And I hope that you'll participate in the strategic planning and take the surveys and come to the focus groups. And also that when it's time to do the parcel tax renewal, that you'll help us and put a sign in your yard and everything else. So
And he's a
thank you.
volunteer in the bookstore.
Yeah, actually, I was in the bookstore last week.
Ah.
I don't know if you recall this, Kathy, but the first day you started at the library,
Mhm,
Steve was taking you around, introducing you to people.
uh-huh.
And I was in the technical area, getting the books ready to restock the shelves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and said hi, and of course, I no reason for you to remember me.
Yeah, I don't remember
No,
that.
of course, because you're going around remembering,
Yeah.
it's like so many different people.
Yeah.
Very first day.
Oh, that's funny. I met you on my first day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So there's real history here now.
There's history.
Yeah.
yeah,
There's all this nice
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
Aw.
Anyway.
That's all I have.
Oh, okay, well, then, well, this was a nice, yes, this is a nice meeting. We'll all
Holidays.
get out of here a little bit earlier and happy
Happy holidays.
holidays, everybody, and happy new year. And it's unbelievable that it's December, the new year is coming.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting
All right.
at 8:38. And again, wishing everybody a happy, healthy holidays and the rest of December.
Thank you all.
See you all in
Thank
January.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.